Ji-Wan pressed his calloused hand against the viewing port of his salvage ship, watching debris from the destroyed Terran colony ship drift past like metallic snowflakes. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council's emergency decree banned all human technology from regulated space. They called it necessary. They called it protection. What they really meant was fear. His ship, the Morning Star, was one of the last human vessels still operational in the outer sectors, running on pre-banned technology that barely qualified as legal anymore. The Council had been terrified when humanity as quantum drives started outpacing their best ships by factors of 10. When human medical manates began curing diseases that had plagued the galaxy for millennia, the alien governments panicked. They saw advancement as threat, innovation as weapon. So they voted, and humanity found itself exiled to the Sol system, forbidden from sharing their dangerous progress with the greater galaxy. Ji-Wan didn't care much for politics. He cared about survival, about the salvage runs that kept him fed, about staying invisible enough that Council patrols wouldn't confiscate his ship. Today, S-Run should have been simple strip useful components from the colony ship wreckage before the official scavengers arrived. Instead, his proximity sensors were screaming. "Distress beacon," he muttered, studying the readings. "Fresh one?" The signal pulsed from a damaged escape pod, tumbling through the debris field. Ji-Wan knew the smart move was to ignore it. Council species had made their position on humans crystal clear. Helping them would likely earn him nothing but suspicion, possibly arrest. But the beacon's pattern indicated failing life support, and some instincts ran deeper than self-preservation. He maneuvered the Morning Star alongside the pod, magnetic clamps engaging with a metallic thunk. The external camera showed him what he was dealing with: a sleek pod of Venlari design, hull breached in 2 places, oxygen venting in thin streams of frozen vapor. Through the cracked viewport, he could see movement. The airlock sequence seemed to take forever. When the inner door finally opened, Ji-Wan rushed into the docking bay with a portable oxygen unit. The escape pod's hatch was jammed, but his fusion cutter made quick work of the warped metal. White vapor poured out as pressure equalized. Inside, curled against the pod's rear wall, was a Venlari girl who couldn't have been more than 20 in human years. Her people were tall and slender, with skin that shifted through shades of blue and silver, depending on emotion and light. Right now, hers was pale, almost gray, her breathing shallow. Venlari typically had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on their faces, but hers were closed, her elaborate crown of sensory tendrils limp against her skull. Ji-Wan didn't hesitate. He scooped her into his arms, startled by how light she felt, and carried her to the medical bay. His ship's systems were old but functional, and he'd learned field medicine out of necessity years ago. The diagnostic scanner revealed hypothermia, oxygen deprivation, and a fractured arm, but nothing immediately fatal if treated quickly. He worked with practiced efficiency, wrapping her in thermal blankets, administering oxygen through a mask adapted for Venlari respiratory systems, and carefully setting the broken bone with a stabilizer. Her skin gradually shifted from deathly gray to a soft blue. After nearly an hour, her primary eyes fluttered open. The girl's gaze locked onto him, and Ji-Wan saw fear flash across her features. Her tendrils rose defensively, and she tried to push away from him despite her weakened state. He stepped back immediately, raising his hands in a universal gesture of peace. "Easy," he said softly, though he knew she probably couldn't understand Terran standard. "You're safe. I'm not going to hurt you." She stared at him, breathing rapidly, her eyes darting around the medical bay. When her gaze found the small Terran flag patch on his jacket, her skin flickered through several colors: surprise, confusion, lingering fear. Venlari were known for their expressive complexions, their emotions playing across their skin like water reflecting sky. Ji-Wan moved slowly to the wall terminal and pulled up a translation interface. It was basic, cobbled together from outdated galactic databases, but it functioned. He typed carefully, You are on human salvage ship. Found you in damaged pod. You are injured, but will heal. Do you understand? The girl watched the Venlari text appear on the screen. She read it twice, then nodded hesitantly. Her fingers moved to the terminal, typing with difficulty due to her splinted arm. Why help me? Humans banned. Council says dangerous. Jiwan couldn't help a bitter smile. The council says many things. Doesn't make them true. You needed help. That's enough reason. She studied him with an intensity that made him self-conscious. Venlari were telepathic among their own kind. He knew but couldn't read other species. She had to rely on his actions, his body language, the same way he relied on hers. After a long moment, she typed again. Name is Nella. Thank you for saving life. Jiwan, he replied, pointing to himself. You're welcome, Nella. Can you tell me what happened to your pod? Her skin darkened to deep indigo, a color he didn't have reference for. Sadness, maybe, or regret. Her message came slowly. Transport ship attacked by raiders. Crew told passengers escape. Pod damaged during launch. Drifted for 2 days. Thought would die in the cold dark. 2 days. No wonder she'd been so close to hypothermia. Jiwan's jaw tightened. Raiders had grown bolder since the ban, knowing human patrol ships no longer operated in these sectors. The Council's own peacekeeping forces were spread too thin, too slow, too concerned with bureaucracy to respond effectively to every crisis. You're safe now, he said, typing the words and then speaking them, even though she couldn't understand his voice. Something about the vocalization felt important, more personal. Rest, heal, we'll figure out the next steps together. Nella's skin shifted to a warmer blue, and she nodded. Despite her obvious exhaustion, she kept watching him as he checked her vitals one more time and adjusted the thermal blanket. There was curiosity in her gaze now, alongside the lingering wariness. He wondered what the Council had told her people about humans. What propaganda had she absorbed about the dangerous species from Seoul? Over the following days, an unexpected routine developed. Jiwan continued his salvage operations while Nella recovered in the medical bay. The language barrier remained challenging, but they communicated through the terminal, through gestures, through the patient repetition of words in each other's languages. She taught him Venlari phrases. He taught her Terran Standard. Her skin became a conversation of its own, brightening to pale blue when she was amused by his clumsy pronunciation, darkening when she concentrated on new vocabulary, flushing silver when she was startled by the sounds his salvage equipment made. Jiwan learned that Nella had been traveling to join her family on Venlari Prime after completing her education in xenobiology. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. She studied alien species while living in a society that had just voted to isolate the most innovative species in the galaxy. She confessed, through careful typing, that she'd voted against the ban in her colony's local referendum, that she'd argued with her professors about the decision. They were afraid, she typed one evening as they shared a meal in the galley. Jiwan had discovered that Venlari could eat most human vegetable proteins, though they required different supplements. Afraid of being left behind. Afraid of becoming obsolete. So they chose stagnation over progress, Jiwan replied, his voice carrying an edge he couldn't quite suppress. They chose fear over cooperation. Nella's skin flickered with complex patterns he was beginning to recognize as conflicted agreement. Not all agreed. Many of us wanted to learn from humans, to work together. But fear is loud and wisdom is quiet. Her command of Terran Standard was improving rapidly, her accent melodic and strange but increasingly comprehensible. Jiwan found himself looking forward to their conversations, to the way her tendrils would animate when she was excited about a topic, to the subtle play of colors across her skin that revealed emotions she might not voice. He taught her about Earth, about the blue oceans and green forests she'd never seen. She told him about Venlars, about cities that floated on thermal currents and sang with the collective thoughts of millions. They talked about music and mathematics, about the recipes they missed from home, about whether the stars looked different from different worlds. One night, during a meal of hydroponic vegetables and synthesized proteins, Nella asked a question that had clearly been building for days. Why do you stay out here? Alone? Why not return to Sol System where humans are safe? Ji-won was quiet for a long time, pushing food around his plate. Sol System feels like a cage now, he finally said. Beautiful, maybe, but still a cage. Out here, I'm free. I can go where I want, do what I want. The council can't regulate every rock and debris field in space. But lonely, Nella observed, her skin a sympathetic shade of deep blue. Very lonely. He couldn't argue with that. Sometimes. But loneliness beats imprisonment. Imprisonment, she repeated, testing the word. Council calls ban protective measure. You call it imprisonment. Truth somewhere between, maybe. Maybe, Ji-won conceded, though he didn't believe it. The ban was exactly what it felt like, punishment for being too good at solving problems, for advancing too quickly, for making the established powers uncomfortable. As the days became a week, then too, the Morning Star's cargo hold filled with salvaged components. Ji-won knew he should return to his trading posts, sell his haul, get Nella to a council station where she could contact her family. But he found himself inventing reasons to delay one more debris field to check, one more distress beacon to investigate, one more system to map. Nella never complained about the delays. If anything, she seemed as reluctant to leave as he was to let her go. She'd started helping with his salvage operations, her xenobiology training proving unexpectedly useful in identifying alien technology. Her people had excellent spatial awareness, and her 4 eyes could track multiple readouts simultaneously, making her invaluable during complex maneuvers. You're a natural at this, Ji-won told her one afternoon as she guided him through a particularly dense debris field, her fingers dancing across the navigation console with growing confidence. Her skin flushed a color he'd never seen before, a kind of warm rose gold that shimmered at the edges. You are a good teacher, patient, kind. The compliment made something twist in Ji-won's chest. He realized with uncomfortable clarity that he was growing attached to her presence on his ship, to the way she hummed Venlari songs while working, to the genuine interest she showed in everything he did. This was dangerous territory. She had a life waiting for her, a family, a future that didn't include a human salvager living in exile. That night, Ji-won made the decision to set course for the nearest council station. It was time to do the right thing, even if it hurt. He was plotting the route when alarms shrieked through the ship. Proximity alert, the computer announced in its flat synthetic voice. Multiple vessels approaching. Configuration matches known raider patterns. Ji-won's blood turned to ice. He sprinted to the bridge, Nella close behind him. The tactical display showed 5 ships, smaller than the Morning Star but faster, more heavily armed. They were spreading into an attack formation, cutting off escape routes. Raiders, Nella breathed, her skin flashing between gray and dark blue. Same configuration as ships that attack transport. Strap in, Ji-won ordered, his hands already flying across the controls. This is going to get rough. The first shots came before he could finish the sentence. Energy weapons lit up the void, splashing against the Morning Star's shields. The salvage ship shuddered, and Ji-won threw her into a hard turn, diving into the nearby debris field. Chunks of destroyed vessels offered some cover, but the raiders followed, their smaller ships more maneuverable in the tight spaces. Shields at 60%, the computer reported. Another volley struck home. Shields at 40%. Ji-won's mind raced. His weapons systems were minimal salvage ships, didn't need heavy armament. And the council restrictions on human technology made upgrading nearly impossible. He couldn't win a straight fight. He needed to be smarter. Nella, can you handle navigation? He asked, already moving toward the engineering station. Yes, but what are you doing? Something incredibly stupid that might just work. He pulled up the ship's power distribution matrix, his fingers moving with practiced speed. Keep us moving through the debris. Make it hard for them to get a clean shot. While Nella piloted with surprising skill, weaving between massive chunks of destroyed ships, G1 rerouted power from life support and non-essential systems directly into the shields and engines. It was a desperate gamble, but it bought them time. He accessed the cargo hold's inventory, looking for anything useful among the salvaged components. There, a damaged quantum drive core from a Terran science vessel, banned technology that he'd kept hidden in a shielded container for emergencies. It was incomplete, unstable, potentially dangerous. It was also exactly what he needed. "Nella, I need you to trust me," he called across the bridge. "In about 30 seconds, I'm going to do something that might kill us. But if I don't, the raiders definitely will." Her skin flashed through a dozen colors, but her voice was steady. "I trust you." Those 3 words hit harder than any weapon's fire. G1 worked faster, rigging the quantum core to the ship's power grid in a configuration that would have made any engineer scream in horror. The theory was sound. If he could create a localized quantum fluctuation, it would scatter sensor readings and potentially disable the raiders' targeting systems. The practice was untested, dangerous, and absolutely against Council regulations. "Here we go," he muttered, and activated the core. Reality bent. For a fraction of a second, G1 saw through walls, saw the raiders' ships simultaneously close and impossibly far away, saw Nella surrounded by an aura of colors that matched the emotional patterns of her skin. Then the effect collapsed and every raider vessel went dark, their systems overwhelmed by quantum interference. The Morning Star shot forward, shields flickering but holding, engines screaming as they punched through the debris field and into open space. Ji-woon didn't slow down until they jumped to FTL, leaving the dead raiders tumbling in their wake. In the sudden silence, he and Nella stared at each other across the bridge. Her skin was cycling through colors so rapidly, it almost hurt to watch. Fear, relief, amazement, something that might have been exhilaration. "That was human technology," she said quietly. "Banned technology." "Yes," Ji-won admitted. "There was no point in lying. I kept a few components. Just in case. You saved our lives with banned technology. I saved our lives with technology the Council fears because they don't understand it." He stood, suddenly exhausted. "I'm sorry, Nella. I know this complicates things for you. When we reach the station, you can report me if you need to." "I'll understand." She unbuckled from the navigation chair and crossed the bridge to stand directly in front of him. This close, he could see the intricate patterns in her skin, the way her tendrils moved in response to thoughts he couldn't hear. Her 4 eyes met his too, and he was struck by how alien she was, how different, how that difference had somehow stopped mattering weeks ago. "Report you." Her skin shifted to that warm rose gold color again, stronger this time. "Ji-won, you are most remarkable person I have ever met. Council is wrong. So wrong. Your technology is not dangerous. Your kindness is not dangerous. This ban is not protection. It is tragedy. Nella, let me finish." She took a breath, her tendrils trembling slightly. "Since you rescued me, I have learned more about humans than in all my years of xenobiology study. You show me that compassion is not species-specific, that intelligence and innovation and courage exist beyond what Council recognizes. You show me that fear-based decisions create only isolation and loss." Ji-won felt something loosen in his chest, a knot he'd been carrying since the ban was announced. "What are you saying?" "I am saying I do not want to go to Council Station." Her skin brightened to brilliant silver, a color he'd learned meant determination, certainty. "I want to stay, here, with you, if you will have me." The request stunned him into silence. He studied her face, looking for doubt or obligation or anything other than the genuine hope he saw there. "Nella, you have a family, a future. You can't just throw that away to stay on a salvage ship with an exiled human. Cannot? Or you think I should not want to? Her tendrils flattened slightly, a sign of hurt. My family will understand. They raised me to follow truth, not fear. And my future? She gestured around the bridge, at the stars visible through the viewport. My future is here, learning, exploring, being free. Like you said, loneliness beats imprisonment. But together, we need not be lonely. The council won't approve. Your people won't approve. Then we will be disapproved together. She reached out, her slender fingers finding his calloused ones. Her skin was cool and smooth, almost metallic in texture. I am choosing this, Jiwan. I am choosing you. If you want me. He looked at their joined hands, at the physical manifestation of everything the band was supposed to prevent, human and alien, working together, connected despite the council's best efforts to keep them apart. He thought about the empty years ahead, salvaging alone, speaking to no one, slowly becoming as cold and distant as the void he traveled through. Then he thought about Nella's laugh when she finally mastered Terran curses, about her fascination with Earth music, about the way she'd piloted his ship through a debris field under fire without hesitation, trusting him completely. He thought about waking up and having someone to share breakfast with, about conversations that ranged from quantum mechanics to whether yellow or blue was the superior color, about not being alone anymore. I want you, he said simply. More than I probably should. But Nella, this life is hard. There's risk. The council could catch us. They might separate us, punish you for associating with humans. Her skin blazed with that rose gold light, so bright he could feel warmth radiating from her. Let them try. I have seen what human technology can do. I have seen what human heart can do. I choose both. I choose this life. I choose you. Jiwan pulled her into his arms, and she came willingly, her tendrils wrapping gently around his shoulders in what he learned was a Venlari gesture of deep affection. She was tall enough that they fit together perfectly, her head tucking just beneath his chin. For a long moment, they simply stood there, holding each other while the ship hummed around them and stars streaked past in FDL flight. We'll need to avoid council space, he murmured into her tendrils. Stay in the outer sectors. It won't be easy. Nothing worthwhile is easy. She pulled back enough to look at him, all four eyes sparkling with determination and something warmer. Teach me more about human technology, about salvage operations, about Earth, about you. I want to learn everything. That could take a while. Good. I'm counting on it. Her skin shifted to a soft, contented blue that made his heart ache with unexpected tenderness. We have time. We have ship. We have each other. What else do we need? Jiwon smiled, really smiled, for the first time in months. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They altered course away from council space, toward the frontier sectors where regulations meant less and freedom meant more. In the days that followed, they established new routines, Nella learning to repair salvaged components with human tools, Jiwan learning Venlari meditation techniques that helped with stress. They upgraded the ship together, combining human innovation with Venlari biological understanding to create systems that were more efficient than either species could manage alone. Word spread slowly through underground channels about the human salvager and his Venlari partner, about the hybrid technology they were developing, about their willingness to help anyone in need regardless of species or council standing. Other outcasts began seeking them out, Terran engineers who refused to return to Sol, aliens who disagreed with the ban, free traders who valued results over regulations. 6 months after rescuing Nella from that damaged pod, Jiwan stood on the bridge of the Morning Star and realized his ship had become something more than a salvage vessel. It had become proof that the council was wrong, that cooperation between species created something stronger than separation, that fear-based decisions could never match the power of connection and trust. Nella joined him at the viewport, her hand finding his with comfortable familiarity. Her skin glowed that warm rose gold color that had become his favorite shade. The color she wore when she was happiest. "What are you thinking?" she asked, her Terran standard now flawless, musical. "I'm thinking the council made a mistake," Ji-won said, squeezing her fingers. "A huge mistake. They tried to ban human technology, tried to isolate us. But what they really did was prove exactly why that technology matters. Because it's not about the machines or the quantum drives or the medical nanites. It's about what happens when different minds work together, when different species refuse to let fear win." Poetic. Nella's tendrils brushed against his cheek affectionately. Also accurate. They banned human technology and lost access to human ingenuity. Their biggest mistake. Our biggest gain, Ji-won countered, pulling her close. "I found you because of that ban. Found purpose. Found proof that the galaxy is bigger and better than council regulations." She tilted her head, all four eyes studying him with that intense focus that still made his breath catch. "Found love?" The word hung between them, heavy with meaning. They danced around it for months, expressing it through actions and gestures, but never quite voicing it directly. Ji-won realized he'd been afraid of being too human, too emotional, too vulnerable with someone so fundamentally different from himself. But differences didn't matter. Not really. What mattered was the way Nella anticipated his needs during salvage operations, the way she laughed at his terrible jokes, the way she stood beside him against raiders and council patrols, and the cold indifference of space itself. "Yes," he said firmly. "Found love. Found everything that matters." Nella's skin blazed so brightly with rose gold light that the entire bridge seemed to glow. She rose on her toes, unnecessary given their similar heights, but somehow perfectly right, and pressed her forehead to his in the Vanillari gesture that meant soul-deep connection, permanent bond, unbreakable trust. "I love you too," she whispered. "My brave, brilliant human. My home among the stars." They stayed like that as the morning star sailed through the void. Two beings from different worlds who'd found each other despite impossible odds. Behind them, the galaxy continued its fearful isolation. Ahead of them, the frontier beckoned with infinite possibility. The council had banned human technology, thinking it would protect the established order. They didn't understand that you couldn't ban innovation, couldn't regulate compassion, couldn't legislate against the fundamental truth that different species working together created something greater than the sum of their parts. It was their biggest mistake, and Ji-won and Nella's greatest fortune. In the end, fear had lost and love had won, one salvage ship and one impossible partnership at a time.